The abandoned ring shimmered against the backdrop of twin dying suns, a cluster of desolate planets repurposed as the galaxy's most rigorous training facility. Here, in the cold vacuum between forgotten worlds, species from across the Galactic Alliance sent their finest recruits to master the art of tactical survival. Today marked a historic first. Humans had finally earned their spot in the training program. Lieutenant Lara Novak stood at the observation deck, her posture military perfect despite the exhaustion of the 18-hour preparation cycle. As commander of the first-ever human-version training squad, she carried the weight of her entire species' reputation on her shoulders. 5,000 years after Earth had joined the Galactic Alliance, humans were still regarded as the impulsive newcomers, tolerated but rarely respected. Initial diagnostics indicate suboptimal preparation levels. Lieutenant Novak, announced Adar, the xenomorph engineer assigned to supervise the shield systems. His exoskeleton glinted under the artificial lighting as his secondary appendages manipulated the holographic controls. Human physiology presents unique vulnerabilities. Lara didn't bother hiding her smile. Thank you for your assessment, Adar. I'm sure we'll manage. The xenomorph's compound eyes flickered, their species equivalent of doubt. The Mathurans insisted your kind requires additional safeguards. Ambassador Mothra was quite specific. The Mathurans have been quite specific about human limitations for millennia, Lara replied, checking her tactical display. Yet somehow we keep surprising them. Below, through the transparent floor, 20 human recruits moved through basic defensive formations. They represented Earth's finest, military specialists, crisis responders, and tactical innovators selected from billions. Each wore the standard gray training uniform with Earth's insignia, a simplified blue and green sphere that hardly captured the complexity of the world they represented. Lara's comm unit chimed. All systems operational, Lieutenant, reported Sergeant Wei, her second in command. Recruits are responding well to the gravitational variations, requesting permission to advance to intermediate maneuvers. A permission granted. Let's show our observers what humans can really do. As Wei acknowledged the order, Adar's posture stiffened. Lieutenant, I'm detecting unusual activity in the outer perimeter. Unscheduled vessels approaching from Vector 739. Lara frowned, scanning her own readouts. Alliance patrol? Negative. Signature matches. Zakar battle fleet. Adar's voice dropped an octave. Heavy weapon systems online. That can't be right. The Zakar agreed to the training schedule. The rest of her sentence disappeared beneath the screaming of alarms as the facility's defensive systems activated automatically. On the screens surrounding them, proximity warnings flashed in angry red. The approaching vessels had broken formation, spreading into a classic attack pattern. Evacuation protocols, Adar began, but Lara was already moving. Belay that, she ordered, activating the facility-wide comm. All recruits maintain position. Prepare for advanced pressure drill. Level 9. Adar's exoskeleton rattled, a sign of extreme agitation. This is not a drill, Lieutenant. Those are Zakar warships charging weapons. Lara's eyes remained fixed on her squad below. Everything is a drill until proven otherwise. Adar, that's the first rule of human training. The observation deck shuddered as the first plasma bomb detonated against the facility's outer shields. The impact sent ripples of blue energy cascading across the protective barrier, momentarily dimming the artificial lighting. Below, the recruits paused, looking up at the ceiling as dust particles danced in the air. Sergeant Wei's voice came through the comm, remarkably calm. Advanced pressure drill acknowledged. Lieutenant, Implementing Protocol 17. Lara watched with pride as her squad quickly reorganized into defensive formations. Rather than panicking, they treated the bombardment as an expected challenge, an obstacle to overcome rather than a disaster to flee. Your species has a disturbing definition of training, Adar observed, still frantically working to reinforce the shields. Lara couldn't help but smile. You have no idea. The second wave of plasma bombs hit with greater force, breaching the outer shield layer. Warning lights bathed the command center in crimson as sections of the facility reported structural damage. Yet on the training floor, the human squad had seamlessly transitioned from defensive formations to damage control and medical response. Working in pairs, they moved through the increasingly hazardous environment, treating simulated injuries and stabilizing compromised sections. Structural integrity at 78%, Adar reported, his voice tighter than usual. Primary systems compromised in sectors 12 through 15. Lieutenant, we must evacuate. The Zakar are using military-grade ordnance. Exactly what we needed, Lara murmured, earning another rattling of exoskeletal plates from the xenomorph engineer. Lara opened a secure channel to the training floor. Sergeant Wei, initiate adaptation protocol. Stage 2. Acknowledged, Lieutenant. Stage 2 commencing. Below, the squad divided into specialized teams. Some deployed portable shield generators, equipment meant for moderate training scenarios, now repurposed to withstand actual bombardment. Others assembled makeshift medical stations, while the remaining recruits modified training weapons to emit frequencies that might disrupt incoming ordnance. On her tactical display, Lara noted the Zakar vessels adjusting their position. Their next attack would likely target the facility's power core, standard military procedure when attempting to disable rather than destroy. They're holding back, she observed. Interesting. Adar's compound eyes swiveled toward her. You find attempted annihilation interesting? I find restraint interesting, Lara corrected. If they wanted us dead, we'd be space dust already. This is a test. Adar, the question is, who's testing whom? Before the xenomorph could respond, the facility rocked with a new impact, different from the plasma bombs. The lights flickered and died, plunging the observation deck into darkness before emergency systems activated dim blue illumination. Electromagnetic pulse, Adar identified, his voice tinged with what might have been respect. Highly sophisticated. All non-shielded electronics are disabled. Lara nodded, unsurprised. Stage 3, then. She reopened the comm channel. Sergeant Wei, implement EMP countermeasures. Activate the backup generators and deploy the modified resonance shields. Already on it, Lieutenant, came Wei's steady reply. Teams 3 and 4 have adapted the training robots. They're radiation-hardened and EMP-resistant. We're using them to restore critical systems while Teams 1 and 2 maintain defensive positions. Through the observation window, Lara could see the robots, clunky machines designed for basic combat training, now repurposed as mobile repair units. They're normally harmless training weapons reconfigured into welding tools and electronic stabilizers. Adar made a clicking sound, the equivalent of clearing his throat. Lieutenant, I'm receiving a high-priority communication from the Galactic Council. They're concerned about these unexpected developments. I bet they are, Lara muttered. Tell them we're conducting training as scheduled. All scenarios are within acceptable parameters. And that would be a significant misrepresentation of... It would be the truth, Lara interrupted. My recruits are performing exactly as trained. The fact that the training involves actual combat rather than simulation is a minor detail. A new alarm sounded, this one deeper, more urgent. Adar's manipulator appendages flew across the controls. Orbital bombardment detected, multiple vectors converging on our position. Lara's expression remained unchanged. Sophisticated, Sergeant Way. Prepare for atmospheric incursion. Stage 4 protocols. Copy that. Deploying temporal shields and initiating counteroffensive measures. The third wave of attacks combined orbital strikes with what appeared to be space-time distortion weapons. Technology theoretically reserved for full-scale war. Yet the human squad responded with astonishing adaptability, using the facility's training chronometers, devices designed to track performance in microseconds, to detect and counteract temporal anomalies. By reversing the polarity of the timing mechanisms and linking them to the shield generators, they created bubbles of stabilized space-time that protected critical areas from the worst effects. Impossible, Adar whispered, watching the tactical displays. Your squad is improvising quantum temporal defense using training equipment? Humans excel at working with whatever's available, Lara explained, not bothering to hide her pride. We have a long history of turning disadvantages into strengths. The xenomorph's posture had changed subtly, the defensive hunch gradually straightening into something approaching respect. The Council will want a full explanation, and they'll get one, Lara assured him. After we finish this exercise, she tapped her comm unit. Sergeant Way, status report. All teams operational. Lieutenant, casualties 0. Efficiency rating at 87%. Request permission to implement countermeasures beyond defensive protocols. Lara raised an eyebrow. Specific, Sergeant? Team 6 has modified the facility's gravitational calibration system. We believe we can create a localized distortion field that would discourage further bombardment. A weapon, Adar translated, antennae twitching. They've converted training equipment into a weapon. A deterrent, Lara corrected. Permission granted, Sergeant, but maintain Alliance restrictions on permanent damage. Understood, Lieutenant, implementing now. The facility hummed as power redirected to the modified gravitational systems. On the tactical display, Lara watched as a controlled gravitational wave emanated from the training center, spreading outward to create a buffer zone that would disrupt the trajectory of incoming projectiles. Remarkable, Adar admitted, your species adapts with concerning speed. It's not just adaptation, Lara said quietly. It's anticipation. Every recruit is trained to expect the unexpected, to assume that any scenario can change without warning. That's how we survived on Earth long enough to reach the stars. The xenomorph seemed about to respond when a new alert silenced them both. This one wasn't an alarm, but a direct communication from the highest levels of the Galactic Council. A priority transmission from Ambassador Mothra, Adar announced, his tone suggesting this was highly unusual. On screen, Lara ordered, straightening her uniform. The holographic display flickered before resolving into the imposing figure of Ambassador Mothra, representative of the ancient Mathuran Empire. The Mathuran's translucent wings caught the light, creating rainbow patterns across the scaled body. 6 compound eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of agitation. Lieutenant Novak, the ambassador began, voice melodic despite the obvious tension. The Council has been monitoring the situation at the training facility. Yes, Ambassador, we're conducting advanced pressure drills as part of the human training protocol. Everything is proceeding according to expectations. The Mathuran's antennae twitched. Lieutenant, you are being bombarded by a Zakar battle fleet. This is not a drill. With respect, Ambassador, in human training methodology, everything is a drill until the exercise is complete. My squad is performing admirably under pressure. This is not a matter for semantic debate. The ambassador's wings fluttered rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. The Zakar fleet has deployed quantum energy weapons. They are preparing for a final assault that will destroy the entire facility. You must evacuate immediately. Lara's expression remained calm. Ambassador, I appreciate your concern, but evacuation would compromise our training objectives. My squad is implementing appropriate countermeasures. Countermeasures against quantum weaponry with training equipment? The disbelief in the ambassador's voice was palpable. Precisely, Ambassador. I believe you'll find the results educational. Before Mothra could respond, Adar interrupted. Quantum energy surge detected, multiple signatures converging from all vectors. The holographic image of the ambassador flickered as interference disrupted the transmission. Lieutenant, you must... The connection terminated abruptly. Lara turned to her tactical display. The Zakar fleet had repositioned, forming a perfect sphere around the training facility. Every vessel had activated its quantum arsenal, weapons designed to disintegrate matter at the subatomic level, leaving nothing but scattered particles. This exceeds all training parameters, Adar stated, his usual composure cracking. Even by human standards, this is no longer a drill. That, Lara agreed, is a matter of perspective. She activated her comm unit. Sergeant Wei, the Zakar have escalated to quantum weaponry. Implement final protocol. There was the briefest pause before Wei responded. Final protocol confirmed. Lieutenant, quantum reflection system activating. Adar's compound eyes widened. Quantum reflection? That's theoretically impossible without specialized equipment. Theory, Lara replied, has never been humanity's strong suit. We prefer practical solutions. On the training floor, the human squad had arranged themselves in a precise geometric pattern. Each recruit held position at a specific node, creating a complex three-dimensional lattice. Between them, they had stretched the facility's basic training shields, transparent barriers designed to absorb conventional energy weapons during practice sessions. They're modifying the molecular structure, Adar observed, watching the data streams on his console. Reconfiguring the practice shields to create quantum entanglement? Lara nodded. By linking the shields in this configuration and running a specific energy pattern through them, they can create a resonance field that matches the quantum signature of the incoming weapons. That would require precise calculations and perfect timing, the xenomorph objected. Even with advanced computers, we're not using computers, Lara interrupted. Sergeant Wei has a natural aptitude for quantum mathematics. The squad trained extensively on manual quantum calculations before deployment. Adar's exoskeleton rattled with what might have been laughter or fear. Your species continues to defy rational assessment. The tactical display showed the Zakar vessels firing in perfect synchronization. Dozens of quantum energy beams converged on the training facility, their combined power sufficient to reduce the entire asteroid to cosmic dust. The facility shuddered as the quantum energy made contact with the modified shields. For a moment, everything seemed suspended. Light, sound, even time itself seemed to pause as the quantum energies interacted with the human-made reflection field. Then, in a spectacular display of physics being pushed to its theoretical limits, the quantum beams bent. Rather than penetrating the facility, they curved around it, redirected by the resonance field created by the human squad. The redirected energy shot back along its original trajectory, straight toward the Zakar vessels that had fired them. Impossible, Adar whispered. On the tactical display, they watched as the lead Zakar vessel, presumably the fleet's command ship, took a direct hit from its own quantum weapon. The massive vessel didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist, disintegrated at the quantum level by its own weaponry. The remaining Zakar ships immediately powered down their weapon systems, breaking formation in what appeared to be a panicked retreat. Lara allowed herself a small smile. Sergeant Wei, excellent work. Maintain defensive posture but stand down from active countermeasures. Acknowledged. Lieutenant, teams returning to standard formation. The facility's communication system chimed with multiple incoming transmissions, all high priority, all from the highest levels of the Galactic Council. It seems we've attracted attention, Lara observed dryly. Adar's compound eyes fixed on her with new intensity. Lieutenant Novak, what exactly did your squad just accomplish? They demonstrated the fundamental principle of human military doctrine. Adaptability trumps superior firepower. She checked her tactical readouts. And they did it without casualties or permanent damage to Alliance property. Aside from one Zakar vessel, of course, but they fired first. The xenomorph's antennae twitched rapidly. The Council will demand explanations. There will be consequences. I certainly hope so, Lara replied, straightening her uniform. Preferably in the form of official recognition that human training methods have merit. 6 hours later, Lara stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council's Defense Committee. The circular chamber, designed to accommodate representatives from over 300 species, was unusually crowded. News of the incident had spread quickly, drawing observers from across the Alliance. Ambassador Mothra presided from the central podium, flanked by representatives from the 3 major empires, Mathurin, Zakar, and Valdres. Their expressions, to the extent that non-human faces could be read, suggested a mixture of outrage, disbelief, and reluctant fascination. Lieutenant Novak, the ambassador began, wings catching the light as they fluttered nervously. You stand before this council to explain the events at training facility Epsilon 9. We have reviewed the preliminary reports, but wish to hear directly from the commanding officer responsible. Lara stood at perfect attention, her gray uniform immaculate despite the chaos of the past day. Thank you, Ambassador. I'm prepared to answer any questions the Council may have. A Zakar representative, Admiral Zoth, according to the holographic identifier floating beside him, leaned forward. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber lights, mandibles clicking in agitation. Lieutenant, your squad destroyed a Zakar battlecruiser. This is an act of war by any reasonable standard. With respect, Admiral, your fleet fired upon an Alliance training facility without provocation or warning. My squad responded with proportional force, redirecting your own weapons while minimizing casualties. By Alliance regulations, our actions were entirely defensive. Admiral Zoth's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. You claim this was a defensive action, using technology that shouldn't exist? We used no technology beyond what was available in the training facility. Lara clarified. Standard practice shields, gravitational calibration systems, and basic chronometers, all Alliance-approved equipment. A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives conferred with their advisors. Ambassador Mothra raised a delicate limb for silence. Lieutenant, our technical analysts find your explanation insufficient. The quantum reflection technique your squad employed has been theorized but never successfully implemented, even in our most advanced research facilities. How did human trainees accomplish this with basic equipment? Lara maintained her composure, though internally she celebrated the small victory. They weren't questioning whether humans had done it, only how. Ambassador, human education emphasizes creative problem-solving and theoretical application. Every member of my squad has extensive training in quantum physics and field manipulation. When confronted with quantum weapons, they applied those principles using the tools available. A Valdres representative, a tall, crystalline being whose thoughts manifested as colored patterns across its translucent surface, pulsed with skeptical blue light. Are we to believe that human trainees possess greater theoretical knowledge than our combined scientific communities? Not greater knowledge, Lara corrected carefully. Different application methodologies. Humans excel at improvisation under pressure, finding unconventional solutions when conventional approaches fail. Admiral Zoth interrupted, mandibles still clicking angrily. This conveniently ignores the central question. Why did your squad treat a genuine attack as a training exercise? Were you not aware that real lives were at stake? Lara met his compound gaze steadily. In human training, we operate under the assumption that any scenario, however extreme, is an opportunity to demonstrate capability. Whether the weapons were real or simulated made no difference to our response protocols. A reckless philosophy, the Admiral countered. A proven one, Lara replied. 0 casualties among my squad, 1 casualty among your fleet, a vessel that fired quantum weapons at an Alliance facility containing 300 personnel. Ambassador Mothra's wings fluttered, a call for order as the chamber erupted in multilingual debate. When relative quiet returned, the Mathuran addressed Lara directly. Lieutenant, while the Council does not condone the Zakar's unauthorized weapons test. This earned a clicking protest from Admiral Zoth, which the ambassador ignored. We remain concerned about the implications of your squad's capabilities. If humans can improvise such advanced applications with basic equipment, it raises questions about potential. Military applications. Lara recognized the delicate diplomatic territory they were entering. 5,000 years after joining the Alliance, humans were still viewed with suspicion by the older species. Their rapid technological advancement and historical propensity for warfare made many uncomfortable. Ambassador, human innovation has always been directed toward survival and advancement. Since joining the Alliance, we've contributed to medical technology, environmental restoration, and deep space exploration. Today's demonstration was consistent with that pattern, adaptation in service of preservation, not aggression. The chamber fell silent as the council members considered her words. Finally, a new voice entered the conversation. Elder Vrim of the Valdris Collective. A being so ancient that its crystalline form had developed complex fractal patterns visible even from Lara's position. I have observed 17 species join the Alliance during my lifetime. The Elder's thoughts projected, creating ripples of green and gold across its surface. Each brought unique perspectives and abilities. But humans... The colors shifted to a contemplative blue. Humans compress evolutionary timescales. What takes other species millennia to develop, you achieve in generations. Lara remained silent, recognizing that the Elder was not asking a question but making an observation. This incident, Elder Vrim continued, while unfortunate in its execution, provides valuable data about human potential. I propose that Lieutenant Novak and her training methodologies be incorporated into the Alliance's Strategic Planning Division. Ambassador Mothra's compound eyes blinked in sequence. Surprise. Elder Vrim, are you suggesting we reward this unorthodox behavior? I am suggesting we learn from it, the Elder clarified, fractal patterns shifting. The lieutenant has demonstrated an approach to problem-solving that clearly produces results. The Alliance would benefit from such perspective. Admiral Zoth's mandibles clicked in protest. After they destroyed an Imperial vessel? After they survived an unprovoked attack using only training equipment, Elder Vrim corrected, colors pulsing firmly. A capability that deserves study, not censure. The debate continued for several hours, with representatives from across the Alliance weighing in on the implications of the incident. Throughout, Lara maintained her professional composure, answering questions directly and without embellishment. Sergeant Wei and selected members of the squad were called to provide technical details about their improvised defenses, impressing even the most skeptical council members with their understanding of quantum mechanics and field theory. Finally, Ambassador Mothra called for a formal vote. The result, while not unanimous, was clear. The human training program would continue, expanded to include interspecies exchanges. Additionally, Lieutenant Novak would join the Alliance's Strategic Advisory Council as a specialist in multidimensional combat training. As the session concluded, Lara found herself approached by an unexpected figure, Adar, the xenomorph engineer who had witnessed the entire incident firsthand. "Lieutenant," he greeted, exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. The Council's decision was unexpected. Was it? Lara allowed herself a small smile. "They're pragmatists, Adar. Whatever their personal feelings about humans, they recognize valuable assets." The xenomorph's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "Your squad performed beyond all reasonable parameters today. It has revised my assessment of human capabilities." "A high praise indeed," Lara observed, noting the shift in his posture, more open, less defensive. "I have requested assignment to your new training initiative," Adar continued. "My expertise in shield technology would complement your squad's innovative approach." Lara nodded, genuinely pleased. "Request approved. Pending official documentation, we could use someone who understands Alliance systems at the architectural level." As they exited the council chamber, they found Sergeant Wei waiting with several squad members. All stood at attention as Lara approached. "At ease," she ordered. "The Council has approved continuation of our training program. Additionally, we'll be establishing an expanded initiative, the Alliance Academy for Adaptive Response." Wei's expression remained professional, but pride showed in her eyes. "Congratulations, Lieutenant. Will we be returning to the training facility?" "Eventually, after repairs and significant upgrades." Lara glanced at Adar. "We'll have Alliance engineers incorporating some of our improvised modifications into the standard equipment. Apparently, our unorthodox approach has applications beyond emergency response." "So they're finally acknowledging that humans bring something valuable to the table," Wei observed. "Let's not overstate it," Lara cautioned, though her tone was light. "They're acknowledging that we're interesting enough to study more closely. It's a start." The group made their way toward the transport bay, where shuttles waited to return them to temporary quarters. As they walked, news of the Council's decision spread through the station. Lara noticed the change immediately. Alliance personnel from various species watching them with new interest, some with obvious respect, others with barely concealed wariness. "We've made an impression," Wei murmured. "That was always the objective," Lara reminded her. "Humanity needs to be seen as more than just the Alliance's newest member. We need to be recognized as essential contributors." Adar, walking beside them, made a sound that might have been agreement. "The Zakar miscalculated. They intended to demonstrate human vulnerability. Instead, they revealed your species' greatest strength." "Which is?" Wei prompted. "You don't recognize limitations as absolute," the xenomorph replied. "Where other species see insurmountable obstacles, humans see puzzles to solve." Lara considered this. An interesting observation, though I'd argue our greatest strength is slightly different. "Oh?" Adar's compound eyes focused on her. "We don't just solve puzzles, we share solutions. Every breakthrough my squad achieved today came from collaboration, both among themselves and with Alliance technology. We don't just adapt, we integrate." The xenomorph's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "A distinction worth considering." 3 months later, the newly established Alliance Academy of Adaptive Response welcomed its first interspecies cohort. The facility, built on the remains of the original training center, had been expanded and enhanced with technology from across the Alliance. At its core, however, remained the human-designed curriculum that emphasized improvisation, adaptation, and collaborative problem-solving. Lieutenant Lara Novak, now Commander Novak, stood on the observation deck, watching as recruits from 17 different species moved through basic formations. Beside her, Adar monitored the facility's systems, his once skeptical demeanor replaced by pragmatic efficiency. Initial diagnostics indicate optimal preparation levels. Commander, the xenomorph reported, echoing their first conversation with deliberate irony. All species are performing within acceptable parameters. Lara smiled. Thank you, Adar. I'm sure they'll exceed expectations. Undoubtedly. The engineer's compound eyes tracked a particularly promising group, a mixed team of humans, Mathurans, and Zakar working together to solve a complex shield configuration puzzle. Ambassador Mothra has requested a progress report for the council meeting next week. Tell her we're implementing the first advanced pressure drill tomorrow. She's welcome to observe. Adar's exoskeleton rattled slightly, his species equivalent of laughter. I believe several council members are already arranging transportation. Your training methods have become quite fashionable. Not my methods, Lara corrected. Human methods, adapted and improved through collaboration. On her tactical display, a notification appeared. A message from Admiral Zoth, who had surprisingly become one of the Academy's strongest advocates after witnessing the results firsthand. The Zakar, historically the most militant of the major empires, had recognized the value of human adaptability in their own military doctrine. Commander Novak. The message read, The Zakar High Command requests permission to incorporate modified quantum reflection techniques into our defense curriculum. We acknowledge the human origin of this methodology and propose a joint research initiative. Progress, Lara murmured, forwarding the message to Alliance headquarters with her recommendation for approval. Adar observed her expression. You anticipated this outcome. I hoped for it, she admitted. The goal was never to embarrass the Zakar or prove human superiority. It was to demonstrate that different approaches can complement each other, that the Alliance is stronger when we combine our strengths. The xenomorph's antennae twitched in what Lara had come to recognize as thoughtful agreement. A lesson that bears repeating throughout the galaxy. Below them, the training floor transformed as the day's final exercise began. Holographic projections created a simulated crisis, a space station experiencing cascading system failures during an asteroid storm. The mixed species teams rapidly organized, each member contributing unique biological and cultural perspectives to the developing solution. Lara watched with pride as a human recruit worked alongside a Mathuran navigator and a Zakar weapons specialist, their different approaches merging into a comprehensive strategy that none could have developed alone. Commander, Sergeant Wei's voice came through the comm. All teams report ready for tomorrow's advanced pressure drill. Simulation parameters are set at level 8, high difficulty but within safety margins. Acknowledged, Sergeant. Maintain current settings. Lara paused, then added with a hint of mischief. And prepare contingencies for unexpected escalation, just in case. Always, Commander. As the day's training concluded, Lara reviewed the performance metrics. Every team had met or exceeded baseline requirements, with the integrated human-alien team showing particularly impressive results in crisis scenarios. The data would please the Council, but more importantly, it validated what humans had always believed. Their place in the galactic community wasn't determined by age or technological advancement, but by their unique approach to challenges. Commander Novak, Adar interrupted her thoughts. Long-range sensors are detecting unusual activity in Sector 793. Unidentified vessels approaching. Lara raised an eyebrow. Alliance patrol? Negative. Signature unknown, not matching any recorded alliance or known independent species. For a moment, they looked at each other, the parallel to their first encounter unmistakable. Then, simultaneously, they smiled, or their species equivalent expressions. Inform all instructors, Lara ordered, activating the facility-wide alert system. Prepare for advanced pressure drill. Level Omega. This is not a simulation. Repeat, this is not a simulation. Throughout the academy, instructors and recruits moved with practiced efficiency, transitioning from training to active response without missing a beat. On the main display, Lara watched as 17 different species, each with their own biological and cultural approaches to crisis, formed a unified response team. Unknown vessels maintaining approach vector, Adar reported. Weapon status indeterminate. Perfect, Lara replied, her expression calm but eyes alight with anticipation. Let's show them what the Alliance is capable of when we work together. As the unidentified fleet drew closer, news of the situation spread across Alliance space, on thousands of worlds. Beings of all descriptions followed the developing story with intense interest. The legend of the human training squad that had treated bombardment as a drill and emerged victorious had become part of Alliance folklore, a story told in educational institutions and military academies alike. Now, as a new challenge approached, the question rippled through the collective consciousness of 100 species. How would the Alliance's newest, most unpredictable members respond? And more importantly, how would their response change the future of interstellar relations? On the Academy's command deck, Commander Lara Novak stood ready, the embodiment of humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy. Not technology or resources or military might, but the simple revolutionary idea that limitations exist primarily in the mind, and that any challenge, no matter how dire, represented an opportunity to grow stronger together. All systems ready, Adar confirmed. Academy defenses at maximum capacity, all recruits in position. Lara nodded, feeling the weight of history and the lightness of possibility in equal measure. Then let's proceed with the lesson. As the unknown vessels entered scanning range, the Alliance Academy of Adaptive Response, born from a bombardment mistaken for a drill, prepared to demonstrate once again that in the face of unexpected challenges, adaptability, cooperation, and human ingenuity could transform even the most dangerous situation into something remarkable, a teaching moment for an entire galaxy. The story that began with bombs falling on unsuspecting human trainees had evolved into something far more significant, a new chapter in galactic history, where the boundaries between crisis and opportunity, between different species and cultures, between limitation and possibility, blurred and ultimately dissolved. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, watching with interest as events unfolded, the elder species of the galaxy began to understand what humans had known instinctively for millennia, that true strength lies not in technological superiority or ancient wisdom, but in the capacity to embrace the unknown, to transform fear into curiosity, and to find, even in the most desperate circumstances, reasons for hope. For Commander Lara Novak and her diverse team of recruits, the approaching unknown vessels represented exactly what humans had always seen when gazing at the stars. Not a threat to be feared, but a question to be answered, a puzzle to be solved, a story waiting to be told. And as they had demonstrated time and again since first venturing beyond their small blue world, humans excelled at turning endings into beginnings, at transforming the impossible into the inevitable. The bombs that had once fallen on a human training base had not destroyed it. They had forged it into something stronger. something that transcended the limitations of any single species or civilization. They had created, quite by accident, the foundation for a truly united alliance, one that recognized that diversity of thought and approach was not a weakness to be managed, but a strength to be cultivated. As the unknown vessels entered communication range, Commander Novak opened a channel, ready to write the next chapter in humanity's ongoing contribution to galactic civilization. A story of adaptation, of courage, and of the remarkable things that become possible when different worlds come together in pursuit of common purpose. This is Commander Lara Novak of the Alliance Academy of Adaptive Response, she transmitted, her voice calm and confident. Welcome to Alliance Space. We look forward to learning from each other. In the silence that followed, as the galaxy held its collective breath waiting for a response, Lara smiled. Whatever came next, peaceful contact or another advanced pressure drill, she and her academy were ready. After all, in the grand tradition of human training, everything was a learning opportunity, even first contact with an unknown civilization, especially that